you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am your colleague, Ali Hussein Mubaraki. I teach English at Al Gar'awi Secondary School, Samta Educational Office. I would like to extend my warm welcome to all of you here in this conference, in general indeed. And I'd like also to welcome my great teacher, Professor Ali Arisi, who taught me English. I'm also proud to speak English because he taught me English. Secondly, I'd like also to invite and introduce our speaker today, our guest, Mr. Ahmad Ali Khضير. Welcome to the stage, Ahmed.
هتساعدني بعدين بالكليك.
Okay, Mr. Ahmad Ali Khضير is an English teacher. He graduated from Al-Imam University in 2003. He continued his higher studies and he got master's degree in applied linguistics, and that was in 2017. He was also the principal of Al-Rawda School, and now he's the principal of Riyadh Jazan International School. In addition to that, he is a cooperative lecturer at Jazan University. Also, he shared and contributed in many conferences in Jeddah University and the University of Business Technology. Since vocabulary acquisition is of great importance to almost all second language learners, Mr. Ahmed is going to talk today about the effectiveness of podcasting on incidental vocabulary acquisition. He did a research on that. When 26 learners of third grade secondary stage in a Saudi school are the participant. Quantitative data are collected through employing pretest and post-test analyzed by using SPSS package, which is T-test analyzed. The hypothesis developed by the researcher stipulates that integrating podcasting into second language learning would promote second language learner to acquire vocabulary incidentally. Please, audience, help me to give him special and warm applause. It's your mic, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you very much, my colleague, Mr. Ali. If you can help me with the clicking the slides, please. لا كيف تعمل العرض انت؟ في 5 ولا؟ طيب. Yes. أولاً السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning for everybody here, my colleagues, my teacher, delighted professors, all of you here. I hope to be the misk since I'm the last, and in Arabic we said ختامه misk, and I hope mine will be the misk that we will end up with. In the domain of second language acquisition, lots of investigations, researches, accounts have been done for the sake of how to improve, how to stimulate, how to enhance teaching English as a second language. With the integration of technology, things go up and updated more and more. My paper here, it's a sort of, let's say, an active or classroom research done and conducted here in the context of Jazan. It's in a school here in Jazan city. It's the Al-Rawda Secondary School. Since I was the member of the community learning there. The paper entitled The Effectiveness of Broadcasting on Incidental Vocabulary Acquisition. Here are the outlines that I'll try to demonstrate, which is the incidental and intentional vocabulary learning, the implementation of technology into the language learning, particularly lexicons, the role of broadcasting on incidental vocabulary learning, broadcasting and learner divergence, extroverted learners and introverted learners. Incidental vocabulary learning and intentional vocabulary learning. In a simple word, imagine that a teacher is teaching grammar. Learners may acquire some words thoroughly. This is what we call incidental, something not planned for, something not structured for. This is the incidental. While the intentional vocabulary learning is something else that we are planning to introduce or to supply learners with definite lexicons or with definite words. And here is a difference, and we need to recognize the difference first, the incidental and the intentional vocabulary learning. Here, I recall two accounts. Number one, the Chomsky accounts for UG, the universal grammar, or what we can call the black box, and the Krashen input hypothesis, the hypothesis that stipulate that good input will result to the same way good output. And here, as we can see, the computer is mediate between teachers and learner at what we can call the CMC, which is the computer mediated communication. And by the way, the role of teacher may be hidden or may be absent. In a way or another, we can get rid of teacher. The computer will play the role of tutor himself instead of having individuals as teacher. Yeah. This is the ways I tried to narrow down my area of interest. I was start thinking about the effectiveness of broadcasting on second language acquisition. I really found it a very broad area of interest. Then I tried to narrow down my interest on vocabulary acquisition, minimizing again incidental vocabulary acquisition until I came up with a very narrowed down title, which is the effectiveness of broadcasting on incidental vocabulary acquisition. Yes. To come up with a really basic or theoretical background, I start digging and mining the literature. I found many research done in the domain of broadcast. One of them was in Taiwan by Chan Ye. It's on broadcasting, how this broadcasting will influence the overall comprehension. Another one was in the States, in the United States, had concluded that the broadcast will have a crucial role in developing the sense of listening and speaking. Another one was conducted in Iran, in the Middle East here, and the same way it approves that the podcast application will help a lot. This is the literature that I found so worldwide. Yep. I start framing my question. What I'm looking to approve in or stipulate in my paper. I start framing the question. To what extent does podcasting help L2 learner acquire vocabulary? Incidentally. This is the key word that I tried to focus on. It's not intentionally, it's incidentally, by accident. Yep. The context or the population of research was a school here in Jazan. It's a Rawda secondary school. Since I was a member of the learning community there, I chose to conduct my paper on my school itself. Yep. I started thinking about how to make the samples. Then I found it very useful to have the cluster sampling, since I need to respect the rule of the school and not to be troubled by my sampling. I found that the cluster sampling is one of the proper one for my research, taking into my considerations two things: that the level of learners are reported to be convergence, and the other one, most of them, all of them have the smart phones. I found it useful for that. And by the way, so far we have what we can call the computer-assisted language learning. Now we can have the mobile-assisted language learning. It's the blessing of the smart phones. Yes. This is the instrument that I adopted or utilized in my paper, the pretest session. All learners are invited to have the pretest session to measure the level prior the research or the study. And next one. Here we have the post-test session. After having the learners, I chose being exposed to two channels on the podcast, which is the VOA and Better English, for 4 weeks. After the 4 weeks, learners are invited again to sit for a post-test session. Yep. So far, I made so many interviews and observations. This is the qualitative part. As we know, in the research, we have two methodologies, which is the quantitative and the qualitative. I adopted both. It's a mix. The quantitative one with results and with number and grades, and the qualitative part with interviews and observations. Yes. Data collection, I start my data collection to collect data and to have the statistics with the help of SPSS. Yes. These are the grades for pretest, post-test, and the average with the help again with the SPSS. Yes. The result, the quantitative part, here we have the P, the significant. We found it very significant here. It's in the normal one, and those researchers can know what are the normal average of significance. Yes. Again, I did some, it's again with the SPSS, the blessing of technology again. The qualitative part, which is something I put my rule in. You know, we in the learners are not the same. Some learners are adherent. Some other learners are less adherent. What we can call the adherent learner and the less adherent learner, extrovergent and introvergent. Extroverted learners who are more sociable, learners who adhere themselves to anything, mainly technology. And the introverted one, this is the opposite. Here we have it again. It's really significant that introducing podcast into, by the way, introducing podcast in this paper, it's like an extracurricular. It's not the main one. And here is the point. If it's the main course or the main curricular, things will differ. The difference here, or the significance here, that the introduction of podcast is something extra that they are really interested in, the learners, I mean. Yes, the null hypothesis is totally rejected since we have the significance here. Yep. Again, yes, we can move. Here, for the qualitative part, I need to recall so many theories. This is the extroverted learners, more adherent, more utilization. The introverted learners, less adherent and less utilization. Yes. Here the theories or the accounts that I tried to recall. The innateness hypothesis by Chomsky, and the input hypothesis by Krashen, and the theory of mind. Those that are recalled to link to my findings. Yes. This is the conclusion. This is the main important part of my presentation that I'm driving toward. Introducing podcast or any piece of technology into our classrooms may be so useful, but as said yesterday in one paper, I don't know, it's Professor Ali Al-Arishi or another paper, know your learners. Who are they? If your learners are so extroverted, then any piece of technology can be adopted. But if the learners is less adherent, then we need to adopt the technology to both, to extroverted and introverted learners. We need to recognize this part of idea. It's not just of pumping technology and cramming our classes with the technology just like this. No. It should be in a theoretical and empirical pace that we need to investigate and to test first. Yes. This is the end. Thank you for listening. I hope that you are enjoying, and if any questions, that I'm ready. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Teacher Ahmad, for your nice and useful presentation. It's time to honor Teacher Ahmed. Thank you, and he deserves that.
الجلسة حقي هذه محمد